The lights were warm, golden like they always were in Studio 11B. But tonight, something was different. You could feel it in the silence between the laughs, in the quiet tension that wrapped around the room like a wire pulled too tight. Clarkson leaned into the edge of her chair, her hand resting lightly on her knee, the other gripping her cue cards. Her trademark smile was there, but just barely. You could see it in her eyes. She wasn't here to play along, and sitting across from her, Prince Harry, polished, poised, and dressed down in a navy blazer over a black crewneck, exhaled, like he was ready to charm the room. He thought this was another friendly stop on his polished promo tour. But the moment their eyes met, something shifted. You could feel it in the way Kelly's smile froze, in the way Harry's fingers curled, ever so slightly against the armrest. The air was electric, and somewhere in the audience, a woman leaned forward in her seat without realizing it. She wasn't alone. Kelly's voice broke the silence, slow, smooth, southern. Before we begin, let me just say, this one's going to be different. So if you're watching at home, buckle in, grab your coffee, and hey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want more than just fluff, because we're not doing fluff today. We're doing real. Applause rippled, but it was nervous, anticipatory, like the audience already knew something big was coming. Prince Harry, Kelly began, her tone warm but tight. Welcome to the show. Thank you, he said, flashing that practiced smile. Glad to be here. They traded the usual small talk family, weather, California life, but it was just camouflage. A polite waltz before the drop. Then Kelly dropped her cards gently onto the table between them. You know, Harry, she said, her voice still calm, you've talked a lot about wanting privacy, and I understand that. I think every parent can understand that. But here you are, writing books, filming documentaries, sitting across from me, again. So, I just have to ask, where's the line between privacy and performance? And who gets to draw it? It was like someone knocked the wind out of the room. The applause light blinked silently, ignored. Harry blinked, and for a moment, just a flicker, the charm cracked. Well, Kelly, he began carefully, there's a difference between sharing your story and being hunted for it. But isn't that what you're doing? She interrupted, gently, but without apology. Sharing your story over and over, in every format imaginable. Memoir, Netflix, Spotify, Apple TV, Oprah. You say you want out of the spotlight, but your name never leaves it. Harry's jaw tensed. We're telling our truth. Kelly leaned in. But only your version of it, Harry. What about the other side? What about the people you're accusing who can't defend themselves? The audience was dead quiet now, not even coughs or whispers. Harry's smile vanished. He straightened. They can defend themselves. They have the entire royal PR machine behind them. Kelly didn't blink. But you had something bigger. You had the public's empathy. And now, well, I gotta say, a lot of folks feel like you're cashing in on pain. Not just yours, but your family's too. And that's when it started. The slow unraveling. Harry leaned forward. You think I'm cashing in? You think I wanted this attention? I think, Kelly said calmly. You chose it. Over and over again. And I think maybe it's time someone asked, what exactly are you trying to achieve here? Justice, or revenge? Harry froze, and the camera caught. At that moment when the facade fractured, when the Duke of Sussex stopped being a royal and became a man, cornered, shaking, unraveling. He spoke slowly, but his voice was trembling. I lost my mother to this machine. I watched it nearly destroy my wife, and I refused to let it take my children. And I believe that, Kelly said, her voice unexpectedly soft. I really do. But protection isn't the same as exposure. And it seems like every time you protect your family, it ends up on Netflix. Someone in the audience gasped. Another woman whispered, Oh my God. Harry's hands balled into fists. He stood up. I came here to talk about mental health. He snapped. About charity. About real things. Not this ambush. You came here, Kelly replied, rising to meet him, to tell your truth, and I'm giving you the chance. But truth is a two-way street, Harry, and you've spent years driving down only one side. The room was on fire now, silent but burning. The tension hung like a THUNDERCLOUD. Kelly took a step closer, her voice low and unwavering. You talk about trauma, about healing. But when's the last time you actually spoke to your brother? Not through a ghostwriter, not through a docuseries, but like a man. Harry was breathing hard. His cheeks were flushed. His voice was shaking. Don't understand what I've been through. Then explain it, Kelly whispered. Not to sell it, not to frame it, just explain it. Because all the world's seen is pain turned into product, and that breaks my heart for you. For a moment, they stood there, two people in a silent war, under blinding lights and 1,000 eyes. And then, Harry sat back down. The audience didn't applaud. They exhaled. Kelly sat too, slower this time. A flicker of something almost maternal crossed her face, but the fire in her tone never left. Let's talk about the memoir, she said, flipping to a new card. You said in your book that your father stopped taking your calls, that your brother yelled at you, that your family didn't protect you. But did you ever protect them? Harry didn't answer immediately. His gaze dropped to the table. When he looked back up, his voice was quieter, angrier. You have no idea what it's like, growing up like that, being trapped, being told how to breathe. Kelly shook her head. Maybe not. But I do know what it's like to come from pain, to fight for healing and healing. Doesn't look like a book deal. Gasps again. Someone muttered. She's not letting go. I didn't write that book to hurt anyone, Harry insisted. But did it? Kelly asked, without missing a beat. Did it hurt your father? Your brother? Do you think reading private conversations in a memoir felt like love to them? Harry's voice cracked. They hurt me first. And maybe they did, Kelly replied, her voice a little softer now. But maybe hurt doesn't justify exposure. Maybe it just means you all need therapy, ... not a camera crew. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of tension, of unshed grief, of something ancient and aching. And for the first time, Prince Harry, the boy who lost his mother, the man who left a kingdom, looked like he didn't know what to say. Kelly leaned forward. So, tell me, Harry, ... do you want peace, or do you just want to win? The studio held its breath. Harry looked her dead in the eyes. I don't know anymore. Harry's voice hung in the air like smoke, delicate, bitter, lingering. I don't know anymore, he said again, quieter now. It wasn't defiance this time. It was something else, something closer to exhaustion, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. Kelly didn't move. She sat across from him, hands lightly folded in her lap, her eyes searching his, not for a soundbite, not for ratings, but for something real. The studio was frozen. Somewhere backstage, a production assistant had stopped breathing. Even the cameras seemed hesitant to cut away. The Prince of England, once untouchable, once mythologized, had just admitted on live American television that he no longer knew what he wanted, and the world was watching. Harry, Kelly said softly, her voice a shade warmer now, I think maybe that's the most honest thing you've said tonight. He didn't respond. His hand gripped the edge of the seat, knuckles white. But it also means we're not done here, she added gently, and a low murmur rippled through the audience like they were grateful someone had the courage to say what needed to be said. Harry didn't lift his eyes. He just exhaled. Kelly continued, You say you don't know what you want anymore, but you knew what you didn't want, right? You didn't want to be controlled. You didn't want to be silenced. You didn't want to become what your mother feared. His head jerked slightly at the mention of her. And yet, you came to the U.S. to escape the machine, and then recreated the same version of it here, with Netflix, publishers, Spotify, paparazzi tailing you in Montecito. What part of that looks like freedom, Harry? What part of that says you broke the cycle? I didn't recreate it, he snapped. I used it. To what end? She asked, not flinching. To build something better, or to destroy what hurt you? That was the question. The one that made Harry's throat tighten and his fists clench. The one that made the woman in the second row visibly cover her mouth. Harry finally looked up. I used it, he said slowly, to make people listen. And did they? Kelly countered. Did they really hear you, Harry? Or did they just tune in for the drama? The audience stirred. Harry's eyes narrowed, the old fire returning. You think I'm just a spectacle? Kelly blinked. I think you're a man in pain, who turned his pain into a production. He shot up from his seat again, this time slower, but with the same storm behind his eyes. I don't regret telling the truth, he said sharply. No, Kelly replied, standing too. But maybe you regret the way you told it. The tension was suffocating. Even the cameras seemed to zoom in instinctively. This wasn't a talk show anymore. This was therapy with a live audience. And the patient was unraveling in real time. Let me ask you something else, Kelly said, lowering her voice, trying to de-escalate. You've said you want to protect your wife and your kids, but can we talk about her voice for a second? Harry tilted his head, cautious now, because in every interview, every special, every project, it's your voice leading the narrative. Your grief, your struggle, your family. Where's Megan in all this? Harry blinked. Has anyone heard her talk about her family lately? Her father, her half-siblings. You talk about estrangement, like it's forced on you. But Megan's estranged from her family too. Doesn't that raise any questions in your mind? He started to say something, then stopped. Kelly pressed gently. Is it possible, Harry, that the two of you didn't escape a toxic system? You brought the toxicity with you. Harry's lip trembled. Just barely. You don't know us, he muttered. I'm not claiming to, Kelly said. I'm just seeing a pattern. You left a family you called dysfunctional and haven't spoken to them since. Megan left hers too, and now you're surrounded by staff, consultants, cameras, contracts. But who's left? Who in your life isn't paid to agree with you? Gasps. Audible. Harry's voice cracked. That's not fair, isn't it? She asked. His eyes were glassy now. Wet. I have friends, he said. Name one who's not on your payroll. Silence. The audience didn't dare breathe. He sat down again, slower this time. His face in his hands. Kelly sat too, but she didn't lean back. She leaned in. I know what loneliness looks like, Harry, she whispered. I know what it feels like to beg people to see you, but I also know what it means to mistake attention for connection. She let it land, let it linger. The first interruption. From the far edge of the audience, a woman in the front row called out without warning, "Leave him alone." Gasps. Security moved instantly, but Kelly raised her hand. No, let her speak, she said, her eyes never leaving Harry. The woman stood up, late 40s, brunette, wearing a Diana pin. He lost his mother, the woman said, voice trembling. He was a little boy. The press killed her. And you're sitting there blaming him for trying to make sense of that. Kelly's expression changed, softer, almost grateful. I'm not blaming him, she said gently. I'm asking him if he sees the cost of the way he's coping. The woman hesitated, then sat. Harry looked stunned. Why are you doing this? He asked quietly. Why push me like this on television? Because I don't think you've ever been pushed. By someone who didn't want something from you, Kelly answered, and I don't want a thing. Not your book, not your tears, just your truth. He wiped his face. Then another interruption, this time from a man backstage, rushing to Kelly's side. A producer. We have to go to break, he whispered. Urgently. Kelly turned her head, eyes hard. We're not cutting, Kelly, we're not cutting. The producer stepped back. Harry looked up, dazed. This. This is hell, he muttered. It's all just another circus, no matter where I go. Kelly's voice softened. Then stop performing. He blinked at her. Just be here, Harry, she said. No cameras, no sound bites, just ... The kid who lost his mom. The man who loves his wife. The father trying to get it right. His lips trembled. I miss her, he whispered. Every day I see her in Megan, in our daughter. And it terrifies me that the same thing could happen again. Kelly nodded slowly. Then let's talk about that. Not the palace, not the press. That. Harry stared at her. And finally something broke open. Not just a soundbite, not just a defense mechanism. A man. Raw. Shaking. Ready. Kelly leaned in. Tell me about the day you knew you had to leave. And Harry began to speak. Not as a prince, not as a brand, not even as a husband, but as a son. Scared and scarred and searching, and for the first time since he'd walked into that studio, the audience didn't see a royal. They saw a human being, but the reckoning wasn't over, because what Harry didn't know, what nobody knew, was that backstage in a private green room, a surprise guest had just arrived, one that would turn this confrontation into an all-out implosion. Harry's voice had barely steadied when the soundstage door creaked open off camera. The audience didn't see it yet, but Kelly did. She glanced past the lights, toward the side entrance where her producer was frantically waving, trying to give her the cue. But her face froze. Her pupils tightened. Harry noticed. "What is it?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Kelly stood slowly. She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped toward the edge of the set, her heels silent on the polished floor. Her earpiece crackled, something unintelligible. Then she turned back to him, visibly conflicted. "Harry, before we go any further, there's someone here." His body tensed like a coiled spring. "I didn't agree to anyone else being here," he said firmly. Kelly hesitated. "I know you didn't, but he asked to be here, and I think you need to hear what he has to say." A low, confused murmur passed through the crowd. Harry rose to his feet, eyes darting between the wings and the host. And then the studio door opened again. In walked James Colthurst, gray-haired, upright, measured, former confidant of Princess Diana, the man who had smuggled her secret interviews to Andrew Morton for her groundbreaking biography, a living relic from the past. Kelly's mouth parted, stunned. "What the hell is this?" James walked slowly onto the stage, uninvited but unwavering. The audience gasped. Half didn't know who he was, but the other half absolutely did. Kelly remained still. "I thought he might offer a different kind of truth," she said softly. Harry was frozen, not angry, not yet, but his eyes said everything. Betrayal, disbelief, fear. James extended a calm hand. "Hello, Harry. It's been a long time." "You don't belong here," Harry replied, his voice tight. James nodded. "And yet, here I am, just like I was there. When your mother whispered the things she didn't trust anyone else to hear, I knew her heart, and I see it breaking all over again in you." "Don't," Harry warned. "Don't weaponize her. Memory against me." "I'm not," James said, "but I am asking if you remember her the way she really was, or the way you needed her to be." The question hit like a hammer. The audience collectively shifted. Even Kelly's eyes darted between them, unsure where this was going, only certain it was unstoppable. Harry stepped forward. "She was hunted, she was broken, and she trusted you because she had no one else. And you're doing the same," James said, "trusting cameras, editors, interviewers, everyone but the people who might actually challenge you to grow." The tension was unbearable. The crew had stopped rolling beat cams. Even the audio engineers had dropped their headsets. All eyes were on this confrontation now. Real, raw, completely off script. Harry's voice dropped into a growl. "You don't know me." "I know your pain," James replied. "I knew it when it lived behind your mother's eyes, and I see it now behind yours. But she never wanted to burn it all down. She wanted to change it," Harry exploded. "She also wanted to live, and because of this damn institution, she couldn't." He pointed toward the camera crew, the lights, the audience, the spectacle. "And now you all want to drag me through it again." "No one's dragging you," Kelly interjected gently. "But if you want to be more than a victim, then you need to confront the part of you that's still stuck in the trauma." "I am confronting it," he snapped. "I wrote about it. I built foundations. I started conversations." "You built an empire on pain," James said quietly. "But healing isn't a castle. It's a kitchen table. It's a phone call. It's showing up." Harry's eyes welled again. "You think I didn't try? You think I didn't pick up the phone?" James stepped closer, close enough that the microphones nearly clashed. "I think you wanted an apology before you ever gave one. I think you wanted your family to kneel, instead of just sitting down and talking." The air cracked. Kelly raised a hand. "Gentlemen, can we just—" But Harry turned on her, voice sharp. "You brought him here. You did this." "I brought him," Kelly said calmly, "because I thought you might finally stop talking at your pain and start talking to it." Harry stared. At her trembling then, he turned back to James. "What do you want from me?" he asked, voice cracking. "I want you to admit," James said softly, "that you've used your trauma as a weapon, that you're hurting people, that you need help. I don't owe them anything. You owe yourself," James said. "Your children deserve a father who can sit with his past without making it a brand." Harry's hand flew to his lapel, ripping the mic from his jacket again. This time it flung to the floor. The thud, sharper, angrier. "I'm done," he muttered. But James stepped in front of him. "Harry, look at me." Harry did. And for the first time, he looked like a little boy again. James reached into his pocket and pulled out a faded photo. Diana with young William and Harry on a ski trip. The kind of photo that never made the tabloids unpolished, tender. "I carry this," James said, "not because she was royalty, but because she was real, and she wanted you safe, not famous, not profitable, safe." The image shook Harry. His knees buckled slightly, and Kelly quickly reached to steady him, but he pulled away. The audience, dozens of strangers, watched a man disintegrate before their eyes. "I'm so tired," Harry whispered. James nodded, then stopped performing, and that's when Harry broke. He collapsed into the chair, hand over his eyes, tears streaming openly. The cameras didn't cut. Kelly leaned forward, her voice barely audible. "What do you need, Harry?" Silence. "Then I want to go home." The words were small, fragile, shocking. Which home, she asked. He looked up. "I don't know anymore." Kelly sat back, and in that moment, for the first time all night, she didn't have a question. She didn't have a challenge. She just sat with him in the quiet. Then James reached out a gentle hand on Harry's shoulder. "You can still fix it," he whispered. "Do you think they'd forgive me?" Harry asked. James nodded slowly. "If you ask with your heart, not with a headline." And then a producer's voice shouted from offstage, "Security breach at the front entrance. We've got protesters trying to get in." The illusion shattered. The pain of the past collided with the chaos of the present. Studio lights flickered. Audience members rose. A stage manager rushed the floor. And amid the panic, the sound of a cell phone ringtone pierced the chaos. "Harry's," he answered instinctively. "Hello." Everyone froze. The line was silent at first. Then a voice, British male, reserved Harry. His face paled. Kelly leaned in. "Who is it?" Harry didn't answer, but his eyes gave it away. It was William. Harry stood motionless, clutching his phone like it was made of glass. "Harry," the voice repeated. Clear now, it was William, calm, controlled. British restraint carved into every syllable. Kelly stepped back instinctively, giving him space. James Colthurst remained seated, watching Harry with quiet intensity. The audience didn't move. The chaos at the studio doors had been subdued, but the real storm was happening right there. In Harry's trembling hands, Harry finally croaked out. A pause. Then, on speakerphone, "I saw the broadcast." Kelly's eyes widened. Harry turned away from the cameras, instinctively shielding the moment, though everything was still hot-micked and live. "You're watching this?" Harry asked, barely above a whisper. "Yes," William said, "and I think it's time we talk. For real, no teams, no press, just us." The studio held its breath. Harry closed his eyes. Now, William said. "Unless you want to keep bleeding in public." That line hit like a body blow. Harry staggered slightly. Then slowly, unsurely, he sat back down. "Then talk," he said, voice fragile. A silence crackled over the line, and then William, Prince of Wales, future King of England, said something that no one, not even Harry, saw coming. "I'm sorry," the studio gasped audibly. A woman, in the front row, covered her mouth. Kelly froze. Even James shifted in his seat. Harry blinked, stunned. "What? I'm sorry," William repeated. "For not being the brother you needed, for not stepping in when I should have, for letting the firm decide how we handled things. I thought I was protecting the family. I didn't realize I was losing mine in the process." The line fell deathly quiet. Harry sat perfectly still. "Then, you don't mean that?" "I do," William replied. "I've been watching you set yourself on fire, trying to make people see you. And it took seeing you fall apart on American television to realize. Maybe you're not the only one who's been carrying pain the wrong way." Kelly was now seated again, not interviewing, just observing, like the rest of the world. Harry's voice cracked. "You never called when Archie was born." "I didn't know what to say." "You didn't say anything when we left the UK. I thought it was your choice. You let the tabloids tear Meghan apart. I thought silence was loyalty. I didn't realize it looked like betrayal." Tears welled again in Harry's eyes. William's voice softened. "Mum would hate what we've become." "I know," Harry whispered. "She'd say we let the institution win." "Maybe," William said, Or maybe she'd say it's not too late to fix it. Kelly leaned forward. If you walk off this stage now, not in anger, not in pain, but to actually talk to your brother, not as a prince, but as a man, this moment could mean something. Not just to you, to everyone. Harry looked around. The audience wasn't just watching anymore. They were feeling it. Dozens wiped away tears. A young woman held her heart. 2 older men in the back row nodded silently. This wasn't about royals. Anymore, it was about family, fractured, falling, apart, but not beyond saving. Harry looked down at his hands, the same hands that once waved from palace balconies, that once saluted his mother's coffin, that once wrote best-selling accusations into memoirs. And then he stood. He picked up his phone. He looked to Kelly. "Can I go?" he asked softly. Kelly smiled. "Go." He turned to James, the man who had once protected his mother's voice, and nodded. Then he looked to the crowd, to the blinking cameras, and for the first time, in hours, in years, he smiled, a small one, but real. And then he walked. No flounce, no storm dash out, just left backstage. The curtain flapped shut behind him. The screen cut to Kelly, sitting alone in her seat, staring after him with something like awe and sorrow mixed into one. She turned to the camera, took a long breath, and for the first time that night, spoke directly to her viewers again. You know, we don't get moments like that often, where pain turns into something else, where someone chooses truth over image. We saw a man tonight, not a prince, confront the wreckage of his own legacy, and maybe start building something new. She paused, her voice catching just slightly. If this story meant something to you, if it cracked something open, or helped you reflect on your own family, your own silence, your own healing, share it. Let it live beyond just another viral moment. She leaned in like this. Share this. Subscribe, not for gossip, for more stories that matter. Stories that show us what it means to try, to fall, to get back up. Because this was more than a talk show. This was a reckoning. She stood slowly, quietly, and maybe, just maybe, a beginning. The camera slowly panned out. Studio lights dimmed. The audience rose in quiet ovation, not clapping, not cheering, just standing, honoring. A moment that wasn't polished or scripted or commercial. A moment that was human. If this moved you, don't let it disappear into the feed. Drop your thoughts below. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more raw, real, world-shaking conversations. Because the next confrontation might be the one that heals.